Like many schools today, you are facing overcrowding and need to add additional temporary classroom space quickly and economically. Pacific Mobile Structures offers both a standard relocatable classroom and a smart academic green environment known as the Sage Classroom to meet your specific needs. Although similar in function, they are very different products, and in this video, we will do a side-by-side comparison to help you decide which model best meets your unique needs. We are upfront with all of our clients that the Sage classrooms are initially more expensive, but that there are many long-term added values that come with your investment in a Sage classroom.
You're getting a different type of product. The quality is there no matter what we do for you. So if you got a standard classroom, you're getting a good solid classroom. The Sage buildings are more expensive because of what goes into them.
Designed and built as a collaboration between Portland State University, Blazer Industries, and Pacific Mobile Structures, Sage classrooms are constructed with environmentally friendly, low or no VOC-containing materials to be the affordable alternative to standard modular classrooms.
The designers of Sage had a real specific goal in mind when they developed it. It was to create a healthy classroom that was more energy efficient and give the students and the parents the same learning environment that they have in the main school that now you can have in a modular classroom. Over the years, modular classrooms have got a bad rap because they're typically put on a site and they're out there for longer than their intended use. The reason that Sage is such a great alternative to the standard classroom is, one, it's going to last twice as long. It's a 50 to 60 year building. One of the differences is the steel floor system versus the standard microlam system floor. So in the standard building, you're going to get a 2x8 microlam. In the Sage building, it is a 2x8 floor that is a complete steel floor system. Where the steel floor system really shines is when districts are going to relocate their buildings and they're going to move them, which they often do over and over. The steel floor system makes the building really rigid. It travels better. And with that steel floor system, we don't have to worry about the flexing and twisting that you get with a wood floor system. The other advantage of the steel floor system is that we don't have to have the 18 inches of ground clearance underneath the building to meet code. So this allows us to build a foundation that's very low to the ground. On a typical classroom, wood floor, we are approximately 28 to 30 inches to the door threshold. Now on the Sage classroom with the steel floor system, we're somewhere in that 12-inch range. So you've cut down your cost on your aluminum ramp. The building sits lower, looks nicer. The standard classroom has a product called Duratemp, which is 3/4 inch plywood with an 1/8 of an inch laminated face to it. And any type of a plywood or a pressboard siding is going to suffer more water damage over the years. The Sage has fiber cement siding with aluminum reveals. It also has some fiber cement lap siding on it. The advantages to this fiber cement siding is that in this weather climate with a lot of rain, the cement siding doesn't get affected like either a plywood or compressed board siding typically does, which is in this climate is key to longevity of a building. The standard building has anywhere from a 0 overhang, no overhang, to 6 or 12-inch overhang typically. The Sage classroom has 30-inch overhang on each end, 18 inches on one side, and 20 inches on the other. The advantage to this is, with our weather again in the Northwest, the more rain we can keep off the building, the main building structure, the longer it's going to last. The difference on the roof that they'll notice is that the standard classroom has a 212 pitch with a architectural comp shingle on it, whereas the Sage has a 60 mil TPO membrane roof. The advantage to the TPO is white. It refracts light and doesn't absorb the light, which helps us temper the interior of the classroom better. One additional feature that the Sage classroom has that a standard classroom doesn't have is a product called BioPCM, which is a phase change material that's in all the exterior walls of the Sage classroom. And what the BioPCM does is during the night, it will harden up and it's like a wax material. And then As the day starts to heat up, that wax material gets softer and it releases the coolness when it was hard into the building. And then at nighttime, it's in a liquid almost form due to the heat of the day. And then when it hardens, it will release the heat back into the building at nighttime. So it helps the overall building regulate itself, because the goal is teaching at 70 to 72 degrees. So we have to use less air conditioning, less heating in the Sage classroom because of some of the things like the bio-PCM and the fans. When you walk into the building, you're going to notice some major differences between a standard classroom and a Sage classroom. The first thing you'll probably notice is that all the walls are tape and textured finished versus vinyl wrap sheetrock or tackboard walls of a standard classroom. The advantage to that is that we can paint the walls with a low VOC paint, thus not having the glue that's in the vinyl wrap tackboard and the glue that connects it to the actual wall structure. So the openness of the Sage classroom with its vaulted ceiling versus the standard classroom with an 8-foot T-grid is a huge advantage, and it gives a sense of openness in the classroom. The Sage classroom goes from an 8-foot ceiling up to an 11-foot ceiling, and it has an exposed ridge beam. It's very aesthetic. You feel like you're in a bigger classroom than you actually are. Another thing you'll notice, the difference between the two buildings would be the windows, just the sheer amount of windows that the Sage has versus the standard and the configuration of them. It has the clear story windows that are up high that allow for maximum natural daylighting, which is advantageous. There's been a number of studies done that say kids learn better with natural daylighting. So we have clear story windows, which brings in 60% more natural daylighting to a classroom. Sage also has aluminum windows because there's no off-gassing in aluminum. Whereas the standard buildings get usually a 4x4 vinyl window slider. Very basic, very non-architectural. The difference in the lighting between the standard classroom and the Sage classroom is the Sage has pendant LED lighting that is fully dimmable by a teacher's control, whereas the standard classroom has 2x4 Modulex LED lighting. The advantage of the dimmable for the teacher is that with so much natural daylighting in the Sage classroom, as the day gets brighter, they can dim the lights. And in fact, most of the day, teaching-wise, the lights will be fully off because there's so much natural daylighting. So another feature that you see that will stick out at you is pendant fans that hang down from the ceiling. What that does is it makes the occupants feel cooler without the use of air conditioning versus no fans in a standard classroom. For acoustics inside the building, obviously with a hard lid ceiling, what we do is we place acoustic tiles on the ceiling versus your standard T-grid ceiling that is in the standard classroom. The other thing we do for noise abatement is we do put corkboard around the walls, and that also helps absorb the sound. One thing that you won't necessarily notice when you walk into Sage is the mechanical system. The Sage mechanical system is a ERV unit, whereas the standard classroom is a wall-hung heat pump. The Sage ERV circulates the air 26 times more than a standard HVAC does. The ERV's only purpose in the building is to exchange air and bring in 100% outside fresh air into the building. I could compare it to being on an airplane that just recycles the same air over and over again versus one that has fresh air coming into it the whole time. Students and teachers are going to be healthier at the end of the year, have less days sick by having the ERV unit. Overall, the Sage building is about 40% more energy efficient than the standard classroom. One of the bonuses that you get with the ERV system is an exterior closet that the ERV is housed in. And what is great for districts is that the closet lends itself really well to putting their IDF box in for all their low voltage and IT connection. Instead of it sitting in the middle of the room, it's fully enclosed in an exterior closet. Districts should buy Sage because One, they can feel good that their students and their teachers are getting the same quality experience of learning and teaching out of a classroom that has the same benefits and features that their standard building does. And two, the parents are going to love the district because they're providing their kids with a healthy, green learning environment that rivals any permanent stick-built structure.
To learn more about Sage, visit sageclassroom.com or call Patrick at 360-913-7214.